Sure.
Are we doing number 1?
You're doing the warm-up triangle where you're finding PQ. You should have used sign. You should have labeled PQ as the opposite from 59. And then I would have labeled my hypotenuse across for my 90-degree angle, which is 7. You're solving for the unknown opposite side. You should have got about 6 questions. All right, today we are doing triangle area and trigonometry. So we'll be using trigonometry to find unknown sides of a triangle. We practice these skills in Unit 9. Today we'll apply those skills further when finding areas of triangles with unknown sides. Here are some things to keep in mind as we try these problems. What am I missing? The base or the height? We'll be drawing in the height or the base today. You should be figuring out which is which. Do I know an angle? Which trig ratio can I use to solve? And finally, make sure you find the area. So the trig ratio, you should be thinking about SOHCAHTOA. You cannot forget what we did in Unit 9. The area of a triangle, it's still written on this board. Base times height times half. Okay, so be careful when you're looking at the image. Are you using the base or the height? Do I need to draw in the height? I'm going to let you and your partner try 1, 2, and 3. 1 is what kind of triangle? Look at number 1.
Right.
A right triangle. Go ahead and get started. We'll check in a few minutes. Sorry, I forgot. Number 2, there was a mistype. Number 2, I highlighted on the screen. It should be find the height. We should have given you the area. Number 2 is a mistype. Can you fix that for me, please? Thank you. Number 2, fix that.
I got that.
In number 1, it says find the area. But again, my questions up here, what am I missing? What are you missing in number 1? The height of the triangle. So then I did my right triangle trig and I started by labeling. I need to find the height of the triangle so that I can do the area formula. I'm going to have to use tangent because my opposite of 52 degrees is the base and I'm solving for the height, which is the adjacent of my right triangle. Are we cool with that step? What's missing so that I can actually find the area? Then I do some right triangle trig. I got about 19.53. Then, now that I have the height and I have the base, I can plug it into my area formula. Make sure you label it with the units squared and the base was labeled in centimeters. What other questions do we have? Yeah.
If we run into the nearest
Changed it. There was a typo. And number 2, we're going to find the height. We are told the area. What else do we know?
base.
The base. So we'll set this up. You've got your area formula over here on the board still. I know the area is 109.2. I know the base is what? What is the base? 28. So 1/2 times 28, and it told me I'm finding the height, h. Again, there was a typo in your text when I printed it, so please change it. This is the setup for number 2. How are we going to solve for h now?
Math.
You're right, math. What's half times 28? 14. So I've got 14 times h, but I want to get h alone. Yep, divide by 14 on both sides to get h alone. What do we get? 7.8, and we'll label it as millimeters. Questions on how to do problems like number 2?
Nope. No.
Okay, number 3. What are we finding in number 3?
Area.
The area. I have 2 sides. I have an angle. What kind of triangle is this? A scalene. It's definitely not a right triangle, right? Right? Right?
It's not.
Get it? Right? We need to draw in the height. Remember, we talked about this last week. The height and the base should be what? Perpendicular to each other. 25 is my base. I drew in my height. Again, the area is half times the base times the height. So what do I need to do to find the area?
The same thing as you did all of them.
The same thing we did as number 1, basically. We're going to solve for the height first. Go ahead and try that with your partner. Solve for the height. What trig ratio are you using? All right, when you do right triangle trig, you should get the height is about 13.9. Yes? Okay, after that, what do we do?
Base times height times
1/2 times the base, which is 25, which is this whole thing, times the height, which is 13.9. We should get about 173.75. We'll just say units squared because I didn't measure it this time. But it is squared units because it's area. Any questions on this type of problem? Yes?
tan, and I got a totally different answer.
Right. So tan would be the opposite over the adjacent. But 25 is this whole base. I don't know what this little segment is of the right triangle. Okay, so common mistake. 25 is that whole base. You cannot use 25 here. When we're doing right triangle trig, we have to use 20 because it's part of our right triangle. Other questions? Flip the page. So let's do some quick notes, and then we'll do number 4 together, which is a word problem. When we're finding the area of right triangles using trig, here are the steps we should follow. Finding the area of triangles using trig. The first thing you should ask yourself is, what are we missing? What are we solving for? The what are we solving for part is always in the directions. Are we finding the area? Am I given the area and I'm finding the base or the height? Think about what you're trying to solve for. Do you need to draw in the height to solve this? Meaning, do you need to make a right triangle? Do you have to make one? Are you finding the missing base? Or height? Finally, in the end, you should be finding the area. That's 1/2 times the base times the height. Depending on the problem, you might need to use Pythag theorem. Maybe you know two sides and you need to find the other side. We've used Pythag theorem a lot this school year. Or maybe you need to use your right triangle trig. Maybe you know an angle and you know a side and it's on a right triangle. Maybe you can use right triangle trig. Questions about the steps for solving these types of problems? First, we're going to start by reading the word problem. Ethan is on a ship heading directly towards a bridge that is 800 feet away. To estimate the length of the bridge, Ethan notices the ends of the bridge are 35 degrees to his left and 57 degrees to his right of the ship in the direction that it's heading. How long is the bridge? Okay. I've got two right triangles. I'm going to label this segment X. Great. Label the first one X. That's the first base of your first right triangle. I'm going to label the other one Y. In the end, what am I going to do when I find those two segments? Add them together to get the length of the bridge. 800 feet, yeah. What part is 800 feet? The height of both of these right triangles. Okay? What should we do now?
800 times 8
No, I would start by labeling. Opposite of 35 is the side I want to know. So I'm using opposite. This is hypotenuse. Oh my goodness. What trig ratio should I set up to find x? Tan. The tangent of 35 equals what over what? X over 800. And now we're going to cross multiply to solve for the first part of the bridge. Go ahead and do that. You should have gotten about 560.16 feet. Great. Now we need to set this up and solve for y. So again, I've got my 800. I've got opposite. This is my adjacent. You're right, we're going to use tangent again. The tangent of 57 equals my unknown over 800. Go ahead and cross multiply and solve for that one. In the end, we're going to go back to adding our x plus y to get the total for the bridge. Any questions on how we use right triangles to solve? Any questions? All right, we're going to work on the homework now. I'll pass that out.